afternoon, everybody. So I thought, since I am out here working, I would do a mini August tour. So I had grasshoppers and they were becoming overwhelming, and as I was doing my research, I discovered that spraying the surround WP killing reduces the chance of the grasshoppers seeing your crops. I guess it works as a camouflage. So I decided I was going to spray everything, and so far it seems to be doing the trick. And as you can see, I finally have flowers. Yeah, the grasshoppers just kept eating the flowers, so nothing was happening in the garden. And it's been maybe about 10 days since I did that. And as you can see, we even have tomatoes, and it is lots of tomatoes. They're sprayed with the surround, and the day I sprayed them, those were about half that size. It is staying on, and we've been getting slight showers in the afternoon almost every day. So every once in a while I do come back and respray the surround. And another thing I found out is that it also keeps the plants like maybe 8 to 10 degrees cooler. So that has really been helpful, because we've been getting into the 90s here in Colorado Springs over the last few days. I have lots more tomatoes in there, and I'll show you the tomato raised bed. It is doing really well. Another thing that has been happening now that I have flowers all over the place is I'm getting about 2 or 3 zucchinis a day. So that's another one right there. And I have an anti-molly ground cherry that's self-seeded over there, and it actually has some cherries. Let's see if we can get that carefully. You can see some cherries right there. Oh, right there. You can see the cherries. And you can see the little flowers on it. So I'm really happy about that surround WP tailing. And most places are selling a 25-pound bag for about $78, and I found it for, I think it was it's $78, and then they charge you like $50 shipping. So I found it in a place where they were selling it for about $40-something and $25 shipping. I'll put the link down below, and I'll also give credit to the YouTuber who talked about it. Can't remember her name, but I'll put a link below, and I'll also add it somewhere on the screen. So that's what that raised bed is looking like. Then we have this raised bed over here where I had the peas and the cabbage. All right. So I cleaned out this raised bed because everything I had in here just started dying. And then I had my cabbage, my tiara cabbages on this end. All those are now gone. And I left one of the cabbages after I cut it and left it just like this one, because somebody had said that the cabbage will come back. So from one single cabbage, it looks like I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little cabbages. I wasn't expecting much, but that's what that little tiara is doing. And then what I have done is I planted peas, and these are the painted runner peas. I have the label on the other side. So that's what I'm growing here for the rest of the season. And then in this row right over here, I started some Swiss chard, and you can see it has started coming up right there. And then on this row, I planted the jade beans, and I'm thinking that Swiss chard is going to get overshadowed between those peas and these peas. So after it has its true leaves, I'm going to move it somewhere else. And then we have our carrots right here, which we planted in the spring, and it's not quite ready for me to do anything with yet. Oh, and another thing I did, every once in a while I'll come in here and spray that spinoside. As long as it gets directly on the grasshoppers, it does kill them. So that's how I'm keeping the grasshoppers under control in the raised beds. And as you can see, I still have a few tiny ones in here. I need to come back and spray those today after I do some watering in here. All right, so in this section here, I planted a few more onions, and those are the Georgia short day over here. And I'm really just planting them for the greens. I don't think they'll have enough time to bulb. If they do, that's a bonus. And then on the other side, I planted some kohlrabi, and it hasn't come up yet. And in the back, we have the same painted runner pole beans. So I have them over there, and I have them over here. And I can eat them early as bush beans, or I can just let them grow and then eat them as beans later. And that's what I'm going to do. I'll eat them as beans later. And you can see here we already have some that are ready. Well, not ready. You can see the beans are already forming there. Oh, and we do have another anti-molly cherry back there, and I didn't plant any this year. They're all self-seeded. We have the handy dandy Egyptian walking onions there coming up, and that's also another Egyptian walking onion. And you can see some of these beans, some of the jade beans are getting really big, and those have only been in the ground for about 5 days. So next I'm going to take you to that raised bed right there. So this raised bed right here is what was supposed to be my eggplant bed, and at the beginning of the season we planted 9 eggplants in here, and I had it covered until I put in the kaolin clay, and I uncovered it because this tomato plant was getting too big under the cover and it was beginning to fold, and I didn't want that. So let us start with the eggplant. We only have 3 out of the 9 that we planted, and that's because at the beginning of the season, before I started covering the raised beds, the grasshoppers decimated the eggplant. So you can see we are finally getting some flowers on this eggplant, and you can see some of those leaves were decimated. Right there we have some flowers, and some more right there. We have some flowers right there, and actually that is already forming an eggplant right there. And then we have more flowers right there, and some more on this side. So hopefully we still have enough time to get some eggplant. And the other eggplant is back there. It's still really tiny, but it's doing much better. Then we have one more over here, and I'm not sure it's really going to make it, but as you can see, it has flowers on it too. Getting back over here, I don't know if you remember that we had divided this raised bed into 9, and I had used the onion as the dividers for the 9 little sections, so we would have 1 eggplant in each section. Well, these onions are done, and they're the Colorado onions. They didn't have a specific name. That's what they were calling them in the gardening store where I got them, and I wasn't expecting them to bulb either. But as you can see, let's pull this one, they have bulbed beautifully. So I still have maybe around 20 or 30 onions that I can pick out of this bed, and I'm going to do that in the next day or 2. I've just been waiting for this raised bed to dry. I didn't want to pick them while it was wet. So I ended up putting peppers in this raised bed, which the grasshoppers decimated as well. So here, I believe this is the hybrid green peppers, and this one right here, I believe is supposed to be a yellow monster pepper. We have another one right there that's doing a little better. And over here, this is a lunchbox pepper. So these are those little red and yellow lunchbox peppers, and it finally has some flowers on it. And then we have white long zucchini over here that is finally starting to produce. And then we have this tomato here in the middle, and I thought this was a Dr. White's yellow, but it turned out to be black cherry tomato. I won't be able to tell until this ripen, but that's the only thing this could be, because this is the only thing that looks like that I planted last year, and I had it in that raised bed. Oh, and I realized I didn't tell you what tomatoes I have in that raised bed. Most of them are the Dr. White's yellow. Let's go back there for a minute. I believe I have labels in here. So that is a Dr. White's yellow, and this over here is a San Marzano, and then back in here I believe that is another San Marzano back there, and over here I believe I have a black Karim, and then over here we have butterbush squash. So we have a butterbush and a honey nut right over here, and I planted this from seed that I collected last year, and I don't remember which one is the butterbush and which one is the honey nut, but we'll be able to tell soon enough once they actually start producing fruit. And then over here we have a honeydew, and that's what they're looking like. They finally have some flowers, and we have honeydew in here. They still have grasshoppers, but they're not as intense as it was a few weeks ago. There's another honeydew, and that plant is doing a lot better. I know it doesn't look like it, but at least it has leaves and it is producing. And then over here, this is another San Marzano. Oh no, this is an Amish paste. I am pretty sure. Yep, that's an Amish paste. I have 2 Amish pastes in here, 2 San Mazzanos and 2 Dr. White cheese. And I also need to clean out the cilantro. All this bushy mess you're seeing in there is cilantro. And I wanted to talk about these strings, and I will include a video below from the Millennial Gardener. That's why I got the concept of holding up the tomatoes with those hooks, and if they get too tall, I just loosen the string and the tomatoes can fold and it is not getting too tall. And I'll show you what I mean when we get to the other raised bed. I'm not explaining it very well. Anyway, so let's go over there. Let me show you that. I think we were done talking about this bed. So on this side, as you can see, I have a lot of marigold in this raised bed. And over here, I have black Hungarian peppers. And this one was just about dead, so it's starting to come back. But I've already gotten about 10 peppers out of that plant, even as miserable as it has been. And then on this side, we have another Hungarian black pepper. You can see what they look like. So I'm going to wait until they turn red and they get a little bigger. I need to come through and respray this bed, and I need to pick those onions so I can water the bed. Then we have some ginger that I randomly planted in there, and next to that we have my serrano. That's the only serrano I have this year because I have so much serrano in the freezer. I did not need to grow any serrano this year. And this serrano is actually from last year. I overwintered it. When I brought it out, it got eaten by the grasshoppers, and I've gotten maybe about 5 serranos from this plant so far. And as you can see, it's producing again. I need to feed it and give it some water. Finally has some flowers. I know I sound like a broken record, but those grasshoppers have really been disastrous. We have a random antimollies right there. There's a little other zucchini. And in between, as I take out the Colorado onions, I am putting in my Egyptian walking onion. You can already see one right there has started coming up. And I'm planting them in the same rows. So I still have those 9 sections by the time we are done with this. All right, on to the next bed. So this raised bed here has some potatoes. Sorry, I'm looking over here because I thought I saw one of those little grass snakes the other day, and I cannot stand them. Anyway, so I think I need to take that potato out of the pot and see if it produced any potatoes. It looks like that one is done. And then let's do this from the back of this raised bed. I have some runner beans. I don't remember exactly which ones they were, but you can see they're doing really well, and there's lots of them in the back of this raised bed. I want to say these are scarlet runner beans, but I need to look at the video where we planted them because I don't think I have a label in there, but we'll see. That's what they look like. You know, this could be my pintos. We'll find out. Then we have the yellow zucchini. The yellow zucchini has not done well this year. I believe I've only had 1 yellow zucchini, but maybe they're going to produce better because you can see now I have 3 of them. Oh, I say that, and here is another yellow zucchini. So maybe these plants were just being slow. And now if we go on to the next zucchinis, these ones have been prolific. So I think going forward, this is what I'm going to plant. And this is the long white zucchini. And as you can see, I am getting lots of those. You can see another one, that right there. All right, and that plant is climbing all the way up. Yeah, I like growing my zucchini plants vertically. All right, and then on the front of this raised bed, we have carrots. And in the back, I have some more ginger right there. I believe I have like 5 ginger plants back there. And then we also have the anti-molly cherries. I did not plant any of those. All these are self-seeded. And as you can see, this one over here, I don't know if you can see, yeah, right there. That one has fruit. So there's several of them around the garden that have fruit. And you can see the beans in the back as well. I should pick that zucchini. I don't want it getting any bigger than it already is. And then we have this potato, and it's not quite ready for me to pick yet. We have another little green long zucchini that is just starting to produce. Oh, and I guess you can see any of the stuff that I sprayed and the growth I have had since then. I'm very excited about this around kaolin clay. It's been a lifesaver. I know I've said that multiple times. And then we have this raised bed. This had a cover on it and it's 6 foot high, and you can see how far those tomatoes have climbed. And I'm going to start with the back and just show you how prolific the tomatoes are now. I have my zinnias. I've been picking them regularly and taking them into the house. Okay, maybe I should start with this right here. We have some Jedi jalapenos that are finally producing. That plant is much healthier. I did not expect to get any peppers this year. I did not realize that grasshoppers have any interest in peppers, but we are finally producing peppers. So that's the jade jalapeno. This right here is the black Hungarian. As you can see, it's also just now starting to recover. In there we have basil, and I planted basil all through because I was interplanting it with tomatoes. So now let's talk about these tomatoes. That's a black Karim, but I did not have a label for it. And then the tomatoes that I'm really excited about are these ones right here. And these are the striped Romas. Let me get the label. I got these tomatoes from Azure Standard after most of my tomatoes died. So I know going forward, this is going to be my main paste tomato. Okay, so that's a striped Roman tomato. And here's one that's starting to ripen. So apparently it's going to have some orange and yellow once it's fully ripe. Yeah, I'm very pleased with those tomatoes. And as you can see, they're also really prolific and they grow really fast. These are just now showing up over the last week and a half, 2 weeks after I sprayed that kaolin. You can see more of them right there. So I am hopeful that I'm going to have a big tomato harvest if things keep producing as they've been doing the last week and a half. And then we have the Dr. White Cheese yellow tomatoes, and as you can see, those are also producing really well. I have a lot of tomatoes. I am very happy about that because I need to can another year's worth of marinara sauce. We used our last jar about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so we need to start canning again. And I have my handy dandy marigold. I love those things. Zinnias, and I also have that potato in the corner, and I have another potato right here. And then the other tomatoes that I got from Azure Standard was the brandy wine, and this plant hasn't been very happy. It's just producing leaves and a big stem, and then it finally started producing some tomatoes. Well, it was producing flowers, to be fair, and they were just getting decimated. It is producing. Okay, so we have this right here. I don't think that's a black Karim. Right there. Then over here we have a Jedi that is suddenly doing well. At least it's looking healthy. Oh, I completely missed that. I guess it's producing peppers already. All right, so maybe I will actually get enough. Oh, maybe I'll actually get enough jalapenos to make my jalapeno jam and jalapeno sauce. And I normally wait until they turn red to make the jalapeno jam. And right next to it, we have either that's another lunchbox. It's either a lunchbox or monster pepper. We'll find out soon enough. I'll do a better job of labeling next year. And then right on the edge all the way across we have some beans that are also finally producing, and this is a bush bean. Again, my useless labels. That's some sort of bush bean. I don't remember which one now. I didn't do a good job labeling. And then back here, back to my happy tomato place. Oh, let's talk about these peppers right here. I have 2 habaneros. Oh, that I almost gave up on, and as you can see, they finally have teeny tiny little habaneros, and I grew this for my sister Mary. So this time I did 2 plants, and I got this habaneros from Azure Standard. Oh, I'm glad those are making a comeback. And there they are. That's the hot habaneros. And then we have some carrots in here, and I need to come and replant in any of the places where they didn't come up. I have some newer packages that I can plant in here, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, then we have this pepper, and I do not have a label for this pepper, but I'm going to say that's a Jedi jalapeno. Hasn't produced any peppers, but it is growing. You can see it has new leaves, so it's doing a lot better. And we have this potato right here in the corner. We have another one in this corner, and then we have these striped tomatoes again. All right, and then we have the Dr. White's yellow. Oh, I did not realize how prolific those are in here. We have a lot of them in there. I'm actually very happy. I'd almost given up on this year's crop because of the grasshoppers, and it looks like we are going to recover and have a comeback, so I'm excited about that. There's some more of that striped Roman paste tomato. All right, so that's it for that bed. Next, we have this little bed over here that makes me really happy. So when I put up this bed, this was supposed to be my bed for basically my flow over bed, and I believe it has done the best out of all the beds, well, other than my striped tomatoes over there. So let me take you in so we can see what we have in this bed, and I'm going to start over here. And we have the Kingston peppers right there. Those are Kingston peppers, and I've already picked a round of those, and I picked those green, and this time I'm going to let them stay on the plant, and I'll pick some when they're yellow, and I'll wait for some of them to turn red. I should probably trim that marigold one more time. Isn't that pretty? Camera is hot, so it turned off. Let's see how far we can get. I don't know if you can see those peppers. Anyway, the point is we have lots of jalapenos in there, and then we have some more jalapenos in this little plant that is just starting to recover. Actually has lots of large peppers. And right next to that one, we have this one that is also producing. And as you can see, we have no shortage of basil. And then right behind those, we have our tomatoes. And this plant right here, that's the Dr. White's, and this is the yellow. You can see it started blushing. And there's several tomatoes on that plant. So all three of these plants, all this is Dr. White's. There's about 6 plants. And if you look at the top, we have so many flowers, and I need to come back and spray again. Oh, so you can see up to the point where I had sprayed a week and a half, 10 days ago, right there. And the rest of that is all new growth. So these grasshoppers were really retarding the growth of the plants. That's like 6 or 8 inches of growth since I sprayed that kaolin clay. I'm very happy with that clay. Look at all those flowers. I planted beans in between these tomatoes. Those are Scarlet Runner pole beans. I am looking forward to that. All right, so we have those runner beans all the way across. So we probably have about 10, because there was 10 beans in that pack, and I planted all of them in that row. And I also have a cucumber, and I believe this is called the Marlin cucumber. You can see the first little cucumber right there. And I have 2 more of those cucumbers, one here and one there, and I just planted this as a fall crop. Yeah, look at my friend over here. Oh, that's another thing. Once I sprayed that kaolin, any of the grasshoppers that are still there seem to be really lethargic. They can barely move. I don't know what the clay is doing to them. Anyway, back to the tour. Right here in this corner, I have another pepper, a very unfortunate pepper. Not sure how I ended up doing that. And this is the yellow, I believe these are the yellow monster peppers, getting overshadowed by that tomato plant. But as you can see, it's not being deterred. All right, probably really need to go recharge this camera. Then we have another Kingston pepper, or maybe it's a hybrid, one of those hybrid greenhouse hybrid peppers. So right next to that, we have this pepper, yet another pepper without a label. All right, and as you can see, the back of this raised bed. We have more tomatoes. And then we have the Hungarian peppers again. Also waiting for those to turn red. We have the zinnias. That's going to be a red one. That's going to be pretty. And then we have another shishido. We pick these peppers about every other day. Oh, you can see the runner beans, the scarlet runner beans. All right. Finally transplanted my black raspberry from the bags into this area that Roger built for me. So we have 4 black raspberry plants in here. And we have a blueberry plant right there, some nasturtiums. Little Miss Princess finally got herself a little bed so she's not laying down in the dirt. We have a chocolate mint plant right there. Behind it, we have the yellow zucchinis that I moved from one of the other raised beds. It did not enjoy being moved, although it's in a black bag. So it's now just starting to come back. And then behind that, we have our asparagus plants. We have 2 of them back there. And in each of those, well, maybe I should get closer and show you what's going on in there. Can mommy pass? Can mommy go around you? Yeah. You're like, why are you waking me up? You can just walk around me. All right, say hi to the peoples. So we have asparagus, and in each of these containers I also have ginger. I don't think that was a very good idea because I have to dig that ginger out. So I should probably transplant that asparagus. And I did the same with that asparagus container right there. So it looks like this zucchini plant is making a comeback. I need to come and trim those dead leaves and feed that plant. And there is the chocolate mint. We have my marigold. It's the blueberry plant. This is a Lowe's blueberry. That's doing a lot better too. And you can see where we have the new growth and where I sprayed the kaolin. And in another day or 2, I'm going to come back and respray everything. I'm not going to spray the raspberry plants yet. Right, let's go around here and I'll show you what else I have planted around these raspberry plants. So right here in the front, I have planted some basil, and that's the mammoth basil. And in front of the mammoth basil, I've planted cilantro, and I did that all the way until about halfway. We have cilantro, and then on the same row with the mammoth basil, I also planted some Asian basil. And then in between the raspberry plant, because I know they're not going to be producing any berries this year, I planted painted pony bush beans right in between any of the places that I have gaps between those 4, and hopefully we'll get some beans out of those rows. All right, so let me show you the greenhouse, and hopefully we have enough battery power. I'm going to try and rush this part to finish the tour. Okay, before we go in, there is my tangerine sky rose, and it kind of slowed down its growth once the grasshoppers started chewing on it. And right next to it, I have a squash plant. I'm not sure that squash is going to do anything, but the idea is it's going to climb right next to it on that arch. On this side, I have the same squash plant, and you can see how well this one is doing. All right, so that is Canada crookneck squash. As you can see, it's already producing, and you can see the difference between where I've sprayed the kaolin and where we have the new growth. So we have 2 of those squash plants in here on this side, and you can see how fast that thing is climbing. So the idea is that it'll climb all the way that arch, and I was hoping it was going to meet with the one on this side, but that doesn't seem to be doing very well. And I do have some more in the other raised bed where I was showing you the squash. I could have a slightly bigger one that I could transplant and move over here. And then we have that raspberry plant, and I did not have enough of a space to put that 5th plant. But now that I'm thinking about it, I may be able to tuck it in the corner, right around the corner, or I'm going to give it to my neighbor. Oh, I didn't even notice that. So I do have another tiny squash plant in here. So instead of having 3 of these plants here, I'll probably take that plant and move it over to that side. Oh, that rose smells so good. It smells like we have tangerines. Alright, let's get into the greenhouse and hopefully we have enough battery to finish off this tour. So I'll make it quick. So as you walk on into the greenhouse, on the right side, oh, let me see if I can give you a full pan. You notice something back there? Yeah, I never really cleaned out that back end at the end of last year. Alright, so let me start back here again. We have our hybrid greenhouse peppers. And we have 3 of them in here. There's that one there. There's this one right here. And they're all doing a really good job of producing peppers. They are really healthy in here. All those problems I normally have with the greenhouse and what do you call them, aphids and all those problems, I have had none of that this year. Although I say that it's still early in the season, things could change. But as you can see, I really didn't do much with the greenhouse this year. So anyway, back to the tour. There is the other hybrid pepper right there. Yeah, ignore the tomato. So we have those 3 pepper plants. So I'm going to have a lot of green peppers, yellow peppers, whatever you want to call them. But so these are hybrids for bread, specifically for the greenhouse. Right behind that, I have a tomato plant, and that is a Dr. White Cheese tomato plant. And as you can see, I'm doing my usual way of growing tomatoes in here, but instead of doing the short runs, I have that string running all the way to the other end of the greenhouse. And I'll show you the concept on this other side, because that side has grown a lot faster than this side. And then right in front of the pepper, we have a San Marzano, same concept, and you can see it's already producing down there. So it's doing quite well. It has some more little tomatoes over there and some more flowers, and the same concept. They are growing vertically on the string all the way to the end of the greenhouse. By the time we are done, we're going to have a lot of these strings, because I'm also allowing these tomatoes to produce from the suckers, and all I am doing is every time it produces one of these suckers, I cut off the leaf that was growing on the side, so I'm left with almost a bare stem, because I know that is going to grow and produce some more tomatoes. So, and I'm doing that throughout. So you can see some more tomatoes right there. There was a leaf, and I cut it off, and another one that I've cut off. I let the sucker grow. You get the idea. And it's time to do the same to this plant over here. I believe this over here is another San Marzano. And then we have this beans that I don't remember planting in here. So I'm guessing either I spilled some beans in here last winter, but you can see those have started producing too. And there's a whole mess of more beans in there. And so I need to come in here, and I'm just going to string them up along with the tomatoes. I'm sure they're going to coexist just fine. Moving right along, excuse my mess, we have some yellow beets right there, and it looks like this one is ready to pick, and that one's not ready. And then we have my celery from last year, and that plant is doing quite well. I'm always surprised at how intense the celery leaves are when you grow the celery for yourself, as opposed to the yellowish looking ones that you get from the store. And I've planted different types. Well, let me say it this way. I've planted celery from different companies, and it's always this intense green. I don't have any of those light yellowish green, so I don't know if I'm buying just one particular kind. I don't know. You can tell me in the comments below, but they're beautiful and tasty. See, they should soon be big enough for me to use, and I've actually been using them while they're that size. Anytime I need some celery for a soup or something. Then we have some more of the beans back there. We have tomato back here. I did not label that. And what I've been doing, if I cut off any of these suckers, if I cut any of them, I put them in the ground and see what they're going to do. So these two came from suckers that I put in the ground. and I don't know that they'll have enough time to produce anything. Well, I take that back, because as you can see, that one is already producing tiny little flowers. So I need to stake them and I need to feed them. And then anytime I cut off the leaves, I throw them in the greenhouse and let them compost in here. We have my handy dandy Egyptian walking onion. I just keep replanting those little bulbs. So in the winter, I always have some green tomatoes that I can use. Oh, forgot to show you that. That's producing. I want to say this is a San Marzano, but this might be the Amish paste, because I know I have Amish paste in here. Actually, maybe that one over there is the Amish paste. We'll get to it shortly. So between this and that other plant, I am not sure. You can see that is producing too, and I allowed it to divide way down there, and I need to come in and string it. And I'll probably string it on that string, and we'll let it grow in that direction. So we have some Swiss charred seeds. I'm going to let those dry and we're going to plant them. I guess that was an experiment worth doing. Now turning this way to this side, we have this plant over here, and you can see it has lots of flowers. Not sure what that is. Again, did not do a very good job with my labeling. Then we have this one over here. You can see it has tomatoes down there, some more tomatoes over here, lots of flowers, more flowers. So I also need to come out here and string that plant. Then we have this pepper plant over here. I need to stake this plant. I'm not sure which peppers these are, because yet again I don't have labels. That might actually be a jalapeno, so I'm going to come out and stake it here shortly. And then we have this corner over here where the chive just spreads from one ear to another. You can see it's already flowering. Then right next to that we have, I believe this is a San Marzano, and yep, that's a San Marzano. I have a label right there. Okay, and I'm going to go to this other end and start from there, so you can see how I have strung these tomatoes. All right, so starting on this end, we have Dr. Whitey's yellow. Obviously there's several of them that have branched out that I need to come and string, and I did make an attempt over here and then I have not followed through. All that is Dr. Whitey's, and we have two plants, and as you can see, this one has divided into three, divided into two right down there, and then this one has divided again. So we'll first follow. Let's follow this one first. It has those tomatoes climbing this way. I've tied it to the string, and then it has produced those tomatoes, and then I've cut off the leaves, as you can see. So it is producing on that string, and I let the little suckers produce. And then the second branch goes up right there, and it is climbing that string right there, and it's going to go across all the way to that end. And then we have another Dr. Whitey's in the back. That's a separate plant, and we are climbing that one on a separate string. And lots of tomatoes this year. So that's it for the greenhouse. And that's it for the August tour, and we will see you on the next one in September when we do another tour. Oh, and look who showed up. Are you just in time to say see you later? Bye, Teenies. See you later. Bye, everyone.